Hello, today we have on Miss Lucy. Would you like to go ahead and start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Lucine Dadrian. I am an ocean engineer. I graduated Florida Atlantic University back in 1996. Um, when I was in high school, I never knew that that would be my path. But I would say in middle school, I enjoyed marine biology, and we went to the Keys, and I thought that was great. And then fast forward to high school, I had a physics teacher. I always thought, take all the classes that you can possibly think of, don't close off your options, make sure that, whatever you do, you can do, because you didn't, miss a class or et cetera that you should have taken. So I was taking physics, not necessarily my favorite course, but my teacher said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I don't know. So I told her about my experiences going to the Keys and enjoying the marine biology. And she said, well, you know, what about ocean engineering? That might be something where you could move forward and have a great career. There's a lot of jobs out there. She told me to go to FAU and talk to a specific teacher, and I did. And that summer they were doing human-powered submarine races. And so I went to see that, and I volunteered, and I was hooked. And from that point forward, I started at FAU as an ocean engineer, right into the career that I was meant to be in. So it's kind of my background to my degree.
So tell us a little bit about what you do as an ocean engineer and what your day-to-day life looks like.
So my career has been varied in the sense that my first two jobs were geared towards ocean engineering. I was part of teams that designed submersibles, underwater vehicles, either for the Navy or for telecom and gas. So cross-Atlantic burying cable for, how we all use our telephones today.
Mhm.
A lot of that was laid out in the late 90s to early 2000. And then in addition, laying gas line across the ocean as well. Part of a team that designed a sea plow that buried actually the telecom, that buried the telecom cable down 3 meters. So pretty fun, interesting career to start with. I moved on to coastal engineering. I was still working. I went back to school and took one graduate course. And I had a teacher that said, you should check out coastal engineering and call this person. So it's always about connections in life. Sometimes one thing leads you to another. And so I ended up becoming more of a coastal engineer. And in the consulting world, you kind of do whatever is required to stay billable, marketable, and busy, because it's all about that billability in the engineering consulting world. So I've designed things from beach renourishment projects to dredging projects. I kind of became an expert in dredging. Some super fun site cleanup in New Bedford Harbor. And then, so the Northeast and the Northwest, American companies did bad things and dumped a lot of highly contaminated stuff in the waterways. And so for decades, it's been an effort to try to clean that up. So I got to be more of an expert in that type of work. And then I started doing ports and harbors. And I even got to go to the Netherlands and work there for 6 months straight, overall for a year, but I lived there for 6 months. And that was not in the water, it was at a port, but we installed nuclear detection portals so anything coming off of container ships would get scanned for gamma and nuclear radiation, trying to find dirty bombs coming in from Europe and making sure they don't come into the US.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it was the first project out the door. It was in the Netherlands. And from there, I didn't do the rest of the projects. I ended up switching jobs into government, but that type of, the portals got installed in many, many, many countries. And hopefully it's a successful program.
So when you have all these different projects, have you worked for one company, or do you actually have to go after, are they like contracted dates? And after that project's over, you have to find a new company to work for?
So if you're a contractor, that's one thing, but if you're a full-time employee, then you wouldn't be switching companies.
Okay.
But I have seen where a lot of engineers do the construction side of work. So they
Mhm.
become engineers in the field doing either construction management or engineering during construction. It's two different roles. One oversees the work that was designed by that company, and the other one is managing construction. So those types of professionals end up sometimes getting dropped after a project is done if there isn't a subsequent project there. So in that instance, they're hopping companies, but most of the time engineers, have a long duration at companies. It could be their
So,
entire lives.
okay. And what does the education look like? Like, what have you done and what does a typical route look like as well?
So I just got my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
I know a lot of people that, got their master's or they went and got a degree at MIT. And, a lot of times people look at that and they say, oh, well, let's highlight this resume, but really the person doing the job is the one that went to FAU,
Yeah.
correct? So is it important? That's why I went back and I took a graduate course, and I just thought it was so much effort to take an engineering course while you're working. I would be at school 5 days a week doing homework, studying for that one graduate course. And I can't imagine
Yeah.
going back. So like what I suggest to anybody, if you're ever contemplating a master's, is to get it sequential with your bachelor's. And but and don't go into the workforce if you're not, if you're really trying to finish it out, because that'll take forever. And especially in engineering, it's super hard.
So do you major in the specific type of engineering you would like to go into, or can you take some courses to see what might be the right fit for you?
You can, I think at any college, you can enter the College of Engineering or, get your AA and just make sure you have all the calculus you need.
Mhm.
I had to take Calc 1, 2, 3,
Oh,
engineering math 1 and 2. And I, you learn it enough to take the course and be done with it. I think early on in my career, I did have to pull out some of those books and figure out some equations, but really, so I transitioned from consulting to government. And my current job role is I manage all the project managers and construction managers at the district in regards to everything engineering and construction related. It's a pretty big job. It's about $600 to $700 million worth of work per year.
that's impressive.
Yes,
Definitely.
it's a
So
lot. We're pretty stretched.
how'd you get to that position? Like, you can start maybe after you got out of college. What jobs did you take to get to where you are today?
So yeah, I've had they've all been, engineering / PM jobs, because when you're in consulting, you kind of have to sell the work, you
Mhm.
do the work, and then you're also designing the work and you're managing the work. So you're kind of all encompassing. You're doing the permitting, the design, etc., all the facets of it, the billing, invoicing, client relations. So that all, builds up. I think at my third job, while I was doing that, no, fourth job, I apologize. I was also, we lost a lot of people during 2000, I forget what year it was, 2001, 2002. There was a recession. We lost a lot of people, and then we started to expand again. So I ended up taking over just because it's who I am, I guess. But I took over the role of like managing that office
Mhm.
and, all the administrative stuff that needed to get done, whether it's fire safety or IT or, anything required to keep running the office. I did that because we didn't have any admins, we didn't have any support. So I'm doing all of this other stuff, selling work, doing work, managing work, and then running the office. So I think it was good experience. It's either in you or it's not to
Yeah.
want to take on even without asked, right? So
Mhm.
you take stuff on, you take responsibility, you make sure everything's running smoothly, and that's kind of just my personality.
So besides just being determined, I guess would be a good word. Are there any other personality traits that you think are important to succeed or move on, I guess, like further?
So I think persistence and, always trying to do the right thing, um, and showing everybody that you're responsible and you take your job seriously, and the work that you do is important. So I think, the better you do at, your job and your projects, everybody sees that. And then, then you have to also speak up for yourself. And I think,
Mhm.
so I would have to say that I, I've been pushed forward with the support of other women in
So
the
tell
industry.
us a little bit about before how many women you really see in your career field in general. If you have a general percentage, maybe throw it out there so we can get a general idea.
It's never been a lot. It's always been more men than women. And
Okay.
especially in the ocean engineering world, it's more men than women. It's like one woman for, let's say, 100 guys.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's very low. And then when I switched into like the consulting side of world with coastal, civil, I saw more women, but more women were on the sciences side. So at least I wasn't in an office with just all men. So there's women, but they're science, not engineers. But you'll have one or two more engineers. And then I switched to government, and then there's more women in government than in the consulting world. And I just think it's over time definitely improving. But I've had, I had a specific person that helped me at one job and then helped me at the other. And she's been my biggest proponent in my life. And I, just thankful for how much she's pushed me
Mhm.
forward, because without that, it's a battle, and you're, trying to fight the male dominated society in engineering. And I'm very thankful for how she pushed me forward.
That's great to have that mentor in your life. Are there any organizations you've been a part of or heard of for engineering to help build that mentorship, or just, I guess, communication with other women in general to bond over?
I think there are a lot of females in the industry now, and one of the American Society of Civil Engineers has a big presence down here. I was actually nominated a few years ago and got the award for
That's
government
awesome.
government engineer of the year award, and I was pretty humbled by that. It's because my peers put me in for it,
Mhm.
right? And I was I don't know, very heartfelt. But I think the world's changing, and as women we have to never, you know, um, you can't look at other women as competition. You have to look at them as, you need to mentor. If they get ahead of you, they get ahead of you. You know, it's important in life that we push each other forward.
I love that. It's better to bring others up than down, especially when there's so few of you, to be able to come together and work and push stronger together to show like, hey, we're doing this, we're changing. What would be your advice to a girl who wants to go into either coastal engineering or just engineering in general?
My advice would be to not give up. So, and here's my story. It was my sophomore year. And the beginning classes are super hard.
Mhm.
I was in a statics course and a thermodynamics course and the thermo teacher um, considered himself a weed out teacher. And he just was so difficult. And I don't know, he would teach you one thing and test you on something else. And it was awful. And I don't think that school should be like that. I think you
Mhm.
teach, you test, you teach, you test. It's got to be on the same topic. It can't be off the wall. But anyway, so I had taken a statics course. Statics test. I thought I failed it. Thermo wasn't going well. And then I'm heading home and I get in an accident. I'm rear-ended and I go home and like my neck hurts, everything hurts. I'm crying. I'm in bed and my mom comes over and she's like, "You okay?" And I go, "No." I don't know that I can be an engineer. I feel like I'm failing. I can't even, I don't want to be a lawyer because I don't like to argue, and I can't be a doctor because I hate memorizing. I can't even be a bus driver because I got in an accident. So And she's like, it's gonna be okay. Next day, I go to school. I go to statics. My very low score of a 45 was actually a B plus on the curve.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I didn't fail my. So I mean, if you can imagine, that was another teacher that taught you one thing and tested you on some different things. I don't know, whatever. So I got a B plus. I'm like, I'm not failing. And then I said, you know what? Let me just drop thermodynamic. There was the one class I dropped. I dropped thermo, and let me just get away from this teacher. And then I kept moving forward, and I did great, and my scores were fine. Sometimes you feel like the world is falling down,
Mhm.
and you just need to push through. And maybe it's a minor tweak, like I dropped thermo. But I always tell people, if you want to be an engineer, you got to want to be an engineer.
Yeah.
It's not easy. School is not easy. Maybe it was me, but
I don't think so.
and
Difficult courses.
always have a support group, make friends, study together. Super important. I don't know. So that's my story about
That's great.
perseverance. And like I said, if you want to do it, you got to want it. Or else, you may say, oh, this is too hard. I'm going to go do something else.
Mhm. I think that's all I have for you today. If there's anything else you would like to share. No,
I don't know. I
I
don't
think
know.
I covered basically everything. Unless there was anything important that you thought people should know that maybe I didn't cover.
No, like I was talking about at school, to have that support network, you need that support network in life as well, in your career.
Mhm.
And never burn your bridges. Always talk things out, and bring people up with you. Don't take them down.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. I loved learning about what you do. And it was a pleasure speaking with you.
It's nice meeting you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.